Test.
I'll try and do my best. All right. I've never done this with notes before, but, well, I'll just start out in the beginning. I grew up in a home. I grew up in a good home. Mom and Dad worked hard and gave us everything we needed, and we had a good life at home. But there was never any kind of religion ever talked about at home. There was never a Bible. I never saw a Bible at home. My mom did go to Catholic school in San Francisco, and I just want to say hi, Mom, because she'll see this. So I didn't want to say that. But they did, whenever I got caught lying, it was drilled into me that that wasn't good. My parents did give us good morals, I won't get into it because I don't have that much time, so I got to make this fit in here. But at about age 16, I kind of went astray as far as my father was concerned. And my home life I ended up moving out when I was 15 years old, and I moved down the street. I was working when I was 14. And anyway, so the next thing was I was about, I don't know, I was in my 20s, young 20s. I don't even know if I was like 21. And I had this beat up old car that my uncle had given me. And I had so many driving on suspended licenses that I couldn't drive it, so we parked it at my friend's work. And I would hitchhike to my parents' house in the morning when my friend was at work, and I'd go home and take a shower and eat, well, let's just say that none of it was good. But the thing that happened while I would hitchhike to my house in Belmont from Sunnyvale, California, is that this guy named Charlie ended up picking me up. And he was talking about Jesus, and Jesus was foreign to me, that word. I didn't hear it a lot in my world then. And then he told me I was going to be a great fisher of men, And it was kind of like, all right, whatever, get out of the car, shut the door, and I forgot that I even met the guy 5 minutes later, But that was another seed, and obviously, since I can remember today, it was the beginning of what was to come. Through another few more years of a lot of debauchery, I ended up finally in the latter end of all of them driving on suspended convictions. I was in jail for a summer of '86. The night I came home from jail, I proceeded to get really, really loaded and then really, really hungover. And the next morning, I'm in a laundromat, and the next person God brought into my life was a man named Andy Hasala. And he looked at me, and he goes, "Man, you look like you need something." So he immediately went across the street, and he got me a sandwich, and we got to talking, and he was telling me about the Word, and it was pretty much, yeah. I'm thinking, how much money is he going to give me at the end of all this, Really, I mean, that's the truth. And anyway, he gave me his number, and I remember we met one more time for lunch, and it just we kept on meeting up. I mean, I really having trouble remembering some of it, but it came down to where this guy was like my mentor. I could call him with any problem I had. He ended up finding me a place to stay in someone's house, and he gave me a Bible. And all I can remember is that I would go into my room at that house, I'd open up that little Bible, and I would try and read through James. And I got to tell you, it was hard to read, because it would, like, a page and a half was like, I just had trouble getting through a page and a half, But it was James, and it was a little chapter, so it was, you know what I mean? It was the beginning. At least he was doing something. I felt like, oh, man, I'm doing great, man. I'm reading the Bible, And I'm thinking, what's God got in store for me now, And I'm thinking, I'm going to have gold dropped on my head any minute because I'm reading the Bible, So I ended up moving away, getting married. A whole big old thing went down. And I started going astray from my wife. We were separating back and forth. And the next thing happened is I met this guy on the streets one day. His name was Herb Stevens. And if you can imagine some guy that looked scarier than me, this was the guy. He scared me, okay? That's how ugly he was. He reminded me of the worst Hell's Angel ever, right? Except for he was telling me about Jesus, right? And I'm thinking, oh, my God, what does this guy really want from me, you know? And so the story behind that was is I seen him, he cut out, I cut out. Another year later, I seen him again. He left, I left. Third time he saw me, he goes, that's it. Third time's a charm. Get in the car. You're coming home with me. I go, oh, my God, I'm being kidnapped. He's going to kill me, right? So at this point, I was so desperate I didn't even care. I just wanted something, you know. So he drives me to his house, and lo and behold, he's got a wife in there, a nice house. And so what happened was is he would drive me around while he was doing a courier business, and he would have the Bible like this in the middle of the console, right? And he was reading it and preaching it. And that's how I got to the greater than is he is in me than he is in the world, because Herb would just like pound that into my head, right? And that's just a major staple of my my prayers daily, you know. So, and they would, what happened with that is they were having this church, they called it Tree, right at their house, you know, and it was the first time I ever experienced that, you know. And he was mandatory, we had to read the Bible at his house. 15 minutes, quiet time, read the Bible. So then, after a couple weeks, I started not going with them anymore, and his wife started driving me around to get a job, and I got a job, and I got enough money to get a car. I bought a Cadillac for $350. That thing went forever. It was crazy. But I ended up back in Arizona with my wife, you know. And then there was Roger Ball in Tempe. He was a pastor of the First Baptist Church in Tempe. He probably still is. That guy was amazing also, you know. You know, the reason why I never went to church is because I always felt like I was being judged and everything else. And I told Roger Ball, I said, John, I don't, you know, they're judging me, you know. He goes, Bob, he said, did you ever stop to think that's the reason why they're at church, you know? And he gave me a new kind of concept to it all. Yeah, I guess so. You may be right about that, you know. And Roger Ball was great. He, you know, one time he came to the, he didn't, you know, it's funny. These people never owed me nothing. And God was bringing them into my life, you know. And so, you know, later on, when I was married, I remember one time I was so on fire for God that I forgot about this. These Jehovah's Witnesses came to the apartment. And just lo and behold, we've been on an all-nighter, right? And I'm preaching the word in there, and they were falling asleep. I was up talking so long about it. And next thing you know, these Jehovah's Witnesses knock at the door. And I go, oh, come on in, you know. And I was like, I must have, I had my Bible, and I was talking Christianity to them big time, you know. But they held out. They, you know, finally they said, we gotta go, you know. Yeah, you know, so, but, you know, I got to tell you, you know, through all my wreckage in my life is, you know, God was, I'm going to tell you something that we talked about, me and Craig, the meat and potatoes, right? Most of the time I was running away from God, okay? But I truly believe in my heart that Jesus died on the tree for our forgiveness and our sins so that we can be forgiven our trespasses, okay? That I believed. I didn't, like, I was still reading and learning how to, it took me a long time to understand a lot of this stuff, you know? Like, well, I'll just mention 8:58, okay? That's where he's arguing with the disciples, and he says, before Abraham was, I am, okay? And I got to tell you, all the arguments that I've ever had with people out there is about Jesus is not God, you know. They're always trying to, you know, John 10:30 also is I and our Father are one, okay? And people were always saying Jesus and God are two separate things, and I'd be hammering it down that you're wrong, you know. And I told Craig, I said, you know what? I would get so mad I want to beat him up, It's like, what is wrong with you? And this is a true story. When I was in prison, this one guy would come sit on my rack. And he'd say, no, we'd argue this point. So I just started, like, drilling through that thing. And I was, like, with, every word trying to figure it out, And I must have read through it a lot of times. It took me a long time to really see that Jesus tells him straight up, I'm God, And that was a great eye-opening for me because I actually saw it with my own eyes, and I believe it, And so anyway, that's parts of my life that was going on, learning about God, Now, so I just did, so then I came home from there, that place with barbed wire, and I kept on drinking. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my drinking and how God tricked me into AA. Okay? Just a little dose of that so you can hear about it. Okay, so I get home from prison, and I go back to prison 18 days later because I started drinking again. Imagine that. So this went on 3 times. Okay, I won't get into the details. The third time I came home, I started drinking again. And I ended up getting a drunk in public. That's a 647F. And I got a ticket to go to court in Malibu. The last time I ever had a drink of alcohol, on February 14th, 4 years ago, I got arrested. And they wasn't giving me a court date. I was going straight to the court in their bus. But luckily, I got a DA reject. So I call my parole officer and say, well, I still got another one left. And all this time I'm waiting, I'm going back to jail, There's just no way out of this. He goes, well, you better go to court. Well, walking home that night, this is my story. The real meat and potato of my story, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm walking home that night, sick as a dog. I haven't had a drink in a day and a half, and I've been drinking like for how long? Anyway, I seen the bottle underneath the bush glowing. It was like hovering like a UFO, calling my name. And I saw it, and I went, oh my God. And I ran over to it, and I looked at it, and I thought about it, and I go, I can't do this. And I threw it back down. Well, I went and visited that ball for a week. I never opened it. I didn't want to go back to jail. I was tired of it. So anyway, I knew that I had to go to court, so I stayed sober for 60 days, okay? And I go into court, and I figure I'm going back to jail. Now, this is the God shot. The court starts. The first lady gets up there, some actress, I forget her name, Diane Cannon, I think it was. I don't know. She had a 647F, right? And then they go, oh, well, she's going to do AA. And I go, AA? I'm going, AA? You made it through prison. You can do some AA. I don't want to do I got to do AA. It's my only hope, right? So that's when I surrendered. I walked up there. They called my name very next one, right? I walk up there. I don't know what would have happened to me if that lady wouldn't have been there with the 647F getting AA, right? I would have been totally lost what to do. That's God all the way, So I asked for the AA. Now, here comes the part where we get into the church, and you got Terry to blame for that. So anyway, I'm going to AA, okay? And all the AAs moved from the bank over to here when you guys signed them up, okay? So the Sunday night meeting, I was coming, and I was setting it up. And I knew there was another meeting so I could come in. All right, so I come in, and one day there's people from the church here, and I go, oh, my God. I tried to run out as fast as I could. I couldn't make it. Lou caught me, I think it was. Lou caught me and started talking about the Dodgers or something. So anyway, they said, come on back, you know. And I said, yeah, right, sure, you know. No intentions of coming back. But then I got back to my camp, and old man Jim was there. You remember Jim, right? And I was like, okay, I can bring Jim, and he'll get free food. So I started coming to the Alpha, you know. And Terry was the least likely guy. I thought he hated me, you know. And I'll never forget the time I'm down at camp, and here comes this man, and it's Terry walking down the trail, and it's like I thought I was hallucinating. It was the craziest sight you ever saw, this total straight-laced guy walking down into my tramp camp. I'm like, what? I've seen guys with badges down there, but never someone as straight as Terry. You know, so, but you know what? He was concerned about us, you know. And then when I lived at that camp for 10 years down in Calabasas. And I remember the cops would come, I'd be drunk, they'd say, Robbie, get back to your cave. You know, they knew I was there. I don't know why they put up with me. But, you know, so I ended up getting evicted in writing from there. So I came to Alpha, and I guess I told everybody. And that's the time that Reggie, the dog, was like another God shot into my life, you know. And so it was kind of like God had all this built up without, I didn't come to the church and camp on the door and say, they're going to let me stay here, you know. It wasn't like that. It was all God's doing, you know. God did all of it. And I can't be more happy for God bringing me to AA and bringing me to the church and all the changes that are going on here. And, you know, it's a great thing, you know. I'm looking to be into that apartment, and that's going to be another change for me. That's going to be, you know, it's going to be weird, you know, but it'll be good to take a shower every day, I can tell you that. And it'll be good to be able to watch sports on TV. That'll also be good. But it'll be a change that's going to be hard for me to deal with, but it's a welcome change, you know. And while I'm here, I just want to say, you know, I thank each and every one of you for you know, for everything that you do for me. If just being there is all that you do, then that's what it is, and it's much appreciated. And all I can say is, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.